may leave following the hearing. The applicant and town board will be sent a copy of tonight's decision. Any other person wishing to receive a copy of a decision can sign the sheet on the table at the front of the room. Those wishing immediate knowledge of the outcome may call the county zoning office tomorrow morning. The procedure we will follow for the hearing, the application tonight is, after each application is read, the applicant, their agent or representative will have the opportunity to present their application, followed by any questions or comments from the board. Then all the correspondence will be read. Then others in favor will have a chance to speak. Anyone objecting will then have a chance to speak. I will then ask for a summary of the board's field observations, any staff comments. Finally, the applicant will be allowed a chance for a brief rebuttal if they wish. Anyone wishing to speak should use the microphone, state their name, and direct their comments to the board. I ask that all testimony be kept brief and to the point. If you are testifying as a nearby landowner, please tell us where your property is located relative to the subject property. Tonight's hearing will be recorded, and recordings will become part of the record. Comments that are based on hearsay or secondhand information, as well as slanderous or prejudicial remarks, will be ruled out of order. The board has looked at all the properties, and the record will reflect these observations. Any person affected by an administrative decision of this board has 30 days from the filing of tonight's decision to make an appeal. Such appeal shall be heard by the Washington County Circuit Court. Information is available from the Clerk of Court's office and qualified legal counsel. The county assumes no liability and makes no warranty as to the legality of any construction commenced prior to the expiration of this 30-day period. I will now introduce the board. At the far end is Larry Tim, Dave Williams, John Shirk, Bob Wadle, our recording secretary, Amy, our administrator, Todd, and I'm Kevin Fitzgerald. The variance for tonight, Anthony Capriola, Rockford, Illinois, has made an application for variance in accordance with sections 58-826 sub B of the Washington County Zoning Code to construct a 20 by 40 two-story single-family dwelling with 10 by 20 two-story extension, attached 20 by 24-foot garage with bonus room above, and a 10 by 20 second-story deck with patio below, coming to within 34 feet of the center line of Check Drive, 46 feet average required, in the RS 20 single-family residential zone within Shoreland area. Location, lots 17 and 18, and a part of the vacated driveway of East Shore Park, located in the northeast 1/4 of the southeast 1/4, section 33, T18N R08E, Pleasant Lake, Town of Coloma, West 13397, Check Drive. Any and all the above items will be reviewed. The first thing we have is the representative for the variance. Want to step up and present your name into the microphone, please?
My name's Gary Glunn, and I'm with Double G Construction. I'm representing Tony.
Okay, speak into the microphone and tell us what you want to do out there.
They want to demo the existing house and make a year-round house because of the condition of the house, basically. So we're requesting a setback from the center and the lake.
Are you getting that? Is that loud enough? Can you hear him? Okay. Speak your name again, please.
Gary Glunn. Microwave.
You all set? Okay. We got a few questions to ask you here tonight. Has there been a recent survey of the property?
Yes.
You're sure of the road right-of-way?
As in the right-of-way of...
Do you know where the property line
We...
and the right-of-way, town right-of-way is on the property?
Correct. I know where it is, yes.
Yeah.
It's on the survey map that we represented, or we turned in.
Have you talked to the town, the county, and the state about this?
I talked to the county and town.
How will you deal with erosion and stormwater runoff?
we submitted a plan on what we propose to do with the silt fence during the construction. And then if it's approved, then we'll go through whatever steps are necessary.
I don't know if he's being able to hear you. You got to speak into the microphone.
We're gonna, if we, better?
Yeah.
Sorry. We're going to submit a plan, and if it's approved, on what we need to meet the requirements for the county, for the shoreline,
What type of foundation are you putting in?
concrete board walls.
How far above the existing grade will the first floor elevation be?
That's not determined at this time till we find out if it's approved.
How much filling and grading?
Whatever we need to meet the requirements.
What will the finished height of the structure be?
The total height, under 32 feet.
32?
Mhm.
Any other improvements planned on the property?
Not to my knowledge, no.
Will all other setbacks be met?
The requirement that we're asking for, correct?
What can you tell us about the septic system?
There's an existing system that we're going to tie into.
How old is it?
I believe it's 18 years, 20 years,
96, 96.
96.
What about room for parking?
Yes, we're leaving the parking where it is right now, so they can back out of the garage and have ample room to drive into the existing road.
Is there a holding tank that is in the way of parking?
That's the tank. It's pumped, I believe, to the other side of the property.
What do you mean by the other end of the property?
To the east side. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that's what I've been informed, that the line runs on the, would be the right-of-way. It's not on his property.
Can they turn around on the property? Is there enough room going to be to turn around?
The same amount of room they have now.
What other options did they talk about on this property?
Other options as in,
Where to build different buildings, remodel?
it's about because of the size of the lot and the angles, we determined that this would be the most suitable spot for one.
What is the hardship?
What he wrote on his,
And other unique property limitations?
the limitations and the fact that it would be, the existing house is not salvageable because of the age and the condition it's in.
You know what permits you need?
The building permits. We'd go through everything that we have to for your county.
You'd have to check with the zoning office and the building office to see
Correct.
what permits you'll need. If an approval is granted, when would you like to start building?
He wanted to do it this winter if that's possible.
Committee questions? Larry? Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead, Bob.
There was an existing sewer pipe there. Do you know anything about that?
I believe that's terminated. That was the old.
It's a cast iron pipe we
Mhm.
noticed. That's,
It should be. It's not attached to anything, from my understanding.
you don't know that for sure.
I don't have a.
I checked on that, and it's just the bent pipe
Okay.
that hasn't been pulled. Everything
Okay.
else is gone.
The existing well has to be abandoned.
The well, I believe, is still good.
The well will still be, the
Mhm.
existing well will be used.
If it when they have it tested, if it doesn't pass the test, then he's willing to put a new well in.
Because that location would need to be noted, would be important as far as in
Mhm.
pertaining to the existing septic. I didn't know if it was.
Yeah, we haven't gone through it completely until he finds out if it's even feasible.
Because that would be one question I know that we probably had when we were on the on-site, is that the well is within very close proximity to the existing home.
Mhm.
And given the fact that the new home is now going to be long and linear and runs parallel to check, it looks like the new home would go right over that well location.
Then obviously we would terminate that well and move it to the east side of the property. I would believe that would be the suitable place for it. Oh, no, I take that back because I believe the drain field's over on that side.
Where are you going to put it?
I'd have to check. I'm sorry, I'm not that well prepared on it.
Well, it can't be any closer to the drain field, and it can't be any, it's got to be
Closer.
10 feet from the new structure, right?
Correct,
It would depend where the neighbor's drain field is as well.
exactly. No, this county is the same as Marquette County as far as setbacks, 50 feet for the,
DNR, I believe, is it not on the well?
isn't it statewide?
We would have septic setbacks, 25 from the tank and 50 from the drain field would have to be
Correct.
met.
So, and I did talk to Tony, and he did agree that we would find the existing line that's in the right-of-way and put a tape in so that it can be located. You know, if I'm not mistaken, the sewer line goes in the right-of-way.
Yes.
So,
That was a big concern of ours.
yes, and his also, so he said he'd be willing to do that.
You know, is there a written easement from the power company?
That I couldn't tell you. I didn't check into that.
That would be one thing we would certainly like to see as an easement.
Yeah, that's understandable.
As well as the town, considering the road, because there's road right away as well.
The road right-of-way, I'm
Right-of-way as
surprised
well as
they even
utility.
allowed it.
We had a question when we were out there. Did you build the house according to where the septic system is?
Did I build the house according where the?
Or plan it
So you
to-
didn't have to move the septic system?
Correct. That's what we're working on, to try to set it into the setbacks that were allowed there.
Anything else, Larry? Dave, John, Bob? Other correspondence?
We received a letter on November 12th from the town of Coloma. It states, the town of Coloma has no objections to the variance request by Anthony Capriola to construct a 20 by 40 two-story single-family dwelling at W13397 Check Drive, town of Coloma. Sincerely, Mark Kirschner, town of Coloma chairman.
That's it?
That's all we have in terms of any correspondence.
Nobody here to speak in favor, nobody to object?
Correct.
No information only, staff comments.
All right. As stated in the report you have before you, the applicant, Anthony Capriola, is requesting a variance to construct a two-story structure to come within 34 feet of the center line of Check Drive, when an average required setback of 46 feet would be required in an RS 20 single-family residential zone within the shoreland area. The subject property is part of the original East Shore Park subdivision, which was platted back in 1925. At that time, not only were the lots platted to 3 rods or 49.5 feet, the existing road is also platted at 3 rods, which results in a number of nonconformities within that area. Due to the minimal overall lot size of those properties, you'll note that most of the homes were situated within very close proximity of the roadway. The existing home is presently only 3 feet from said right-of-way. The applicants are now proposing on raising the existing 20 by 38 home and erecting a new home in its place. Staff has conducted an on-site on the property with the builder and the homeowner, and we identified a number of setbacks. There was the ordinary high water mark setback, floodplain setbacks, the sanitary system setbacks, and all of the setbacks attributable to those. And it was determined that this would be the appropriate location, essentially building in the same location, however, orienting the house so that it's parallel to the roadway, coming up with somewhat of a modest development plan, with the home being set back 9 feet from the right-of-way or 6 feet greater than what's existing on the property. The Board of Adjustment visited the property at the recent on-site on Monday, November 12th, 2018, and had the following comments and or concerns. Allowing the existing force main to remain in the town right-of-way may establish precedent for future requests. The house, drain field, and front lot lines were not staked out at the time of the on-site, making it very difficult to visualize the extent of the variance requests and whether other alternatives existed. It was unclear as to whether a new well would be located and whether all setbacks will be met. It appears the proposed home was designed around the existing sanitary system. Is there any consideration on future system failure and location for replacement system? And the board did feel that the proposed home was a practical design and was not overly built for the property. Staff has recognized the concerns expressed by the board. However, we believe the location of the existing force main really shouldn't be a major determinant in deciding the fate of the variance request, especially as both the town and the county reviewed and approved the location of the existing replacement system. If there is concern regarding future work in the right-of-way that could damage or tear up the force main, there are ways to identify systems to avoid potential damage and destruction. The location of the force main can easily and clearly be identified through above-ground pole markers, similar to the fiber optic poles that we saw out there, or detectable underground warning tape can also be placed below grade, immediately above the pipe, further identifying its location. We also believe, though, that an easement for the force main should be prepared, approved, and recorded between the township and the landowner. And this will formalize a longstanding agreement that was put in place for the off-site private utility. There was also discussion at the on-site regarding sliding the home further to the east into the existing hill. One thing I'd like everyone just to please keep in mind, the main reason behind the creation of the shoreland codes was to avoid and or minimize land disturbances and soil erosion and to discourage the removal of existing vegetation on shoreland properties. We've reviewed this request and believe the proposed structure should not negatively impact surrounding properties. The applicants have worked very closely with our department and have requested on-sites to identify site constraints and to flag setbacks so that a home can be designed to fit the limitations of the property. The proposed home is quite modest by today's standards and will actually provide a larger roadway setback than what is existing. Now, while the board will be making a formal decision on the application following this public hearing later tonight, staff is recommending approval of the variance to construct a two-story structure to come within 34 feet of the center line of Check Drive when 46 feet average is required in an RS-20 single-family residential zone within the shoreland area. Now, this is subject to conditions listed and that recommended within the report.
Anything else you'd like to add?
I'd just like to apologize for not having it staked out. The surveyor told me to stake it out. I didn't come up and check. So,
Any other board questions? Okay, that's all we have here. We're going to go meet in that little room over there and have our business meeting, and we'll decide on the application.
thank you.
Oops, I'm sorry. I got the page marked there.
Nice and move back and you tell me go back there. Oh, why don't I go back in the corner over there?
turned off, but that was a, well, we want to reboot it though. Hard turn off.
What do you got?
Yeah, so if that happens,
We'll call this meeting of the Waushara County Planning and Zoning Committee to order. This meeting will be conducted in the same manner as the application heard by the Board of Adjustment. Please remember to keep your comments brief, no more than 5 minutes, and relative to the matter at hand. Anyone other than the applicant or their representative wishing to speak at this hearing must have registered. Anyone who has not should do so immediately and submit a registration slip to the zoning administrator. The committee has looked at all the properties and the record will reflect these observations. Following the public hearing, the committee will conduct their monthly business meeting, at which time we will vote on the applications. You may stay and hear how the applications are decided, or you may leave following the public hearing. Any person affected by an administrative decision in this committee has 10 days from the filing of tonight's decision to file an appeal. Such appeals are heard by the Waushara County Board of Adjustment. Information and applications are available from the county zoning office. The county assumes no liability and makes no warranty as to the legality of any construction commenced prior to the expiration of this 10-day period. I will now introduce the committee. Pat King, George Peterman, Jerry Lauer, Todd Waller, he's a new guy, and Cindy Rutler. I'm Mike Kapp. All right, call the meeting to order. Public hearing on applications. Should be the zone change. Patrick Van Abel, Appleton, Wisconsin, has made an application for zone change in accordance with section 58-131 through 138, 58-511 and 58-691 of the Waushara County Zoning Code from CC to RS10 to convert an existing 88 by 61 foot and 18 by 47 feet tavern restaurant with 18 feet by 47 feet concrete patio to a single-family dwelling within the shoreland area. Location: 2 parcels together being lots 234, block 29 of the village of Tustin plat, except CSM 5750, section 36, township 20 north, R13, Lake Poygan, town of Bloomfield, W217, County Road H, parcels 3671 period 8810 and 3671 period 9000. Any or all of the above items will be viewed prior to the public hearing of the Waushara County Planning and Zoning Committee. Such review shall be done at the locations described above on Wednesday, November 14th, 2018. I get the right page flipped here, we'll be all set to go. I'd ask the applicant to come to the microphone. Please let us know what the name is, and so they can put it in the book. You're the one.
My name is Patrick Van Abel.
The committee have any questions? Yeah, I guess I probably ought to let you let us have some information before we start ripping it apart or something here, so.
Okay.
Can
My
you let us
project?
know what you
Sure,
plan
okay.
on
Yep.
doing and
Sure,
when and
sorry.
how?
I am looking at purchasing the former restaurant and bar in Tustin. I own property very near there, probably within a half a mile on 35th Drive, very near the Badger Avenue boat landing. And I've driven by this for a number of years, and it's sat vacant. It used to be a bar and restaurant that my family used to enjoy, and they ran it as Big City Bar and Grill, and then it went through probably 4 or 5 different lessees that tried to run it as a bar and grill. And just driving by it, the current property that I have on Lake Poygan I own with my brother, and we said, hey, you'll own a piece somewhere and I'll own a piece somewhere, so I just started looking. So I looked at this bar and restaurant, and I'd use it as a place for my family. There'd be no structural changes to the facility. We would be cleaning up the bathrooms, framing in some bedrooms, cleaning up the kitchen, and enjoying the property. But there's no physical alterations planned for the property, other than the garage would go inside of the property. There'd be no exterior buildings. The building's big enough that we'd be able to cut a garage right into it, and it's what the former kitchen was.
Any questions, for the applicant?
So in regards to the garage, we were just out there yesterday, beautiful piece of property, by the way.
Thank you.
So where I sort of thought the garage was gonna go, there is, 2, pipes, essentially. One looks like for a well, one
Yep.
is a vent pipe. How is that gonna be addressed?
Well, obviously we'd have to follow code, and we don't have our building plans completed yet, but I would edge my garage as far east as possible. So as you look at the property to the left, and you know what we measured from that cap and that well, I think it was 10 feet off of our driveway.
Okay.
So I don't want to pretend I know what code is on that, but that's a rough plan right now because we don't want to put any more
But
buildings.
there'd be enough space for roughly like a 1 car or 2 car?
Well, what we've measured, there's probably upwards of 18, probably 28 feet wide, and we wouldn't be that wide. I think we'd probably be a 16 or 18 foot by 7 foot garage, your standard residential garage door.
Thank you.
Any more questions, or? Is there any correspondence?
Yes, Amy received an email yesterday, and it states, "Hi, Amy. The town of Bloomfield met last night at our regular monthly meeting. We had on our agenda the zoning change request by Patrick Van Abel to change the zoning from commercial to residential on the formerly Tustin Shores property. After hearing Patrick's request and plans for the property and him answering all of our questions, we decided unanimously to approve his request to change the zoning back to residential. We hope we will be able to follow through with his plans. Sincerely, Mark Stubbs, Town of Bloomfield Chairman." And that's all the correspondence we have.
I don't think there's anyone here to speak for and against or anything. So there's staff comments?
Okay. As stated in the report you have before you, the applicant, Patrick Van Abel, is requesting a zone change from the CC Community Commercial Zoning District to RS10 Residential Single Family. And that's to convert an existing 88 by 61 and 18 by 47 tavern restaurant with an 18 by 47 concrete patio to a single-family dwelling for the property located along the south side of County Road H within the Shoreland area. A subject site has been home to a few taverns over the years. County records are very minimal on the property. The original smaller tavern, which I believe was the Normains, which was located up the northwest corner of the lot, was raised in 2000 to make way for the larger structure that remains on this site to this day. The building has not changed significantly since this time, however, has undergone a number of ownership changes and name changes throughout the years. Big City, Tustin Shores, etc. Despite the ownership changes, the building is now vacant, has been on the market for quite some time, and the applicant is wishing to purchase the property and convert it back to a single-family residence. While the comprehensive plan for the town of Bloomfield does designate this property for commercial land use, the property is immediately adjacent to single-family residential on both sides, both the east and west sides, and that property located a little bit further west of there is also zoned RM. And I passed around at the on-sites the zoning map just to kind of give everyone a feel. The committee visited the property at the recent on-site on Wednesday, November 14th, 2018, and had the following comments: that the applicant shall be required to submit a plat survey or certified survey map clearly indicating the existing lot lines. And that was all the comments. With regard to justification, for the record, the committee has previously been furnished with a copy of the site plan and all other pertinent data for this application. As you are aware, a zone change is a permanent change to the property, and that by changing the zone, you are likely changing not only the minimum lot size, but also what may be permitted on the property. Because of the permanent change, the review standards are quite high, and applications for zone changes are reviewed by 3 bodies. The first step is tonight, after a public hearing where the Planning and Zoning Committee will make a recommendation on the application. It will then go to the full county board of supervisors. And then ultimately, it's supposed to go on to the town board, but that process has already occurred, so we're left with 2. As proposed, the structure and proposed land use would be compatible in the feeling of staff with those of the adjacent lots. And given the fact that there are no variances that would be needed, we're very supportive. Staff has reviewed this request and believes the zone change to single-family classification would not detrimentally impact the surrounding land uses, and the site given the fact that it's immediately joined by single-family residences on either side. We recognize the fact that a number of businesses have been opened at this location, but have all since ceased operations and closed. A single-family residence would be an ideal reuse of the property. While the Planning and Zoning Committee will make a formal decision on this application following the public hearing a little bit later tonight, staff is recommending approval of the zone change request from CC to RS10 for that property located along the south side of County Road H within the shoreland area, subject to the conditions outlined in the staff report.
Is there anything the applicant would like to add further?
Just a couple of questions and thoughts. So I have it under contract right now, so I don't own the property yet, and I'm still under some physical review of the property structurally and just getting my best use out of it. If I were not to close, and I just walked away from the contract, I guess it would be up to the seller whether they want to continue with that zoning change. I guess, if I pulled out in 25 days or whatever, and I don't expect to, I expect to close. But I just want to know, just to protect the seller, that the zoning change wouldn't occur because I'm not taking the property on until I have waived my contingency. So I would have to waive my contingencies prior to what I was told was January 7th or 8th, that first Tuesday in January. So I would waive shortly before then, and then the zoning change would occur, and then I would take ownership of the property.
He's not the owner.
Correct. He's asking for the property to be rezoned, and that if so, then he would go forward with his plans, which isn't uncommon. Okay. However, the zone request, and that would lie with you, not with the owner of the property. Okay. So, and then you would have 1 year, and that the rezoning request is basically good for 1 year. And that, unless you build, then the zoning request would stay with the property in perpetuity. Sorry, I used that again. So it's a long-standing joke. But the rezone request lies with you, not with the owner of the property, and it is subject to your development plan that you've proposed, here. Now, if things were to change, then that would be considered a major amendment to this, and we would require it to come back before the committee for further, debate and public hearing.
Sure.
And just so I'm clear on this, because I just want to make sure we have the process down. So, Mr. Ben Abel?
Ben Abel, but that's
Ben
all right.
Abel, okay.
It's a Dutch thing.
Yeah. Ben Abel is not the current owner of the property. We make a move to potentially change the zoning tonight. of that property, he does not go through with the purchase, the zone change then reverts back to the original status before we made the change.
Correct, because the zone change that's being considered tonight is based upon the development plans that's being submitted by Mr. Von Abel.
Just want to make sure.
Yep.
Okay.
And then the other thing was, so your recommendation is to get a plat of survey of the property?
Well, that's just one of the items. You'll see as we go further on tonight, and we get into the actual conditions, they'll be outlined.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Public portion of the board meeting on applications is now completed, and the Planning and Zoning Committee will continue with the regular meeting. You may stay for the regular meeting, but you are not allowed to any discussion during the meeting.
Does that impact the decision?
You could just take a seat, and we're gonna kind of go through and just some more formalities. Nope.